Welcome to Elevate Your Event, your favorite podcast for transforming fundraising events. Join us weekly for expert tips and creative ideas to make your next event a standout success.
On this episode of Elevate Your Event, we're diving into the power of text messaging with James Martin from RallyCorp. If you're struggling with low email open rates or looking for a better way to engage donors, this is the episode for you. James explains why texting beats email, how nonprofits can use it to boost attendance and donations, and what's next for donor communication. Stay tuned. This is a conversation you won't want to miss.
Hey, welcome back to the Elevate Your Event podcast, where we try to talk about all the various ways you can make your next fundraising event better, or even the technology that you might be using around your fundraising events or just fundraising in general. So we have a very special guest today. We have James Martin from RallyCorp. James, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about your background and also what RallyCorp does.
Man, I will start. Let's see. We launched another company years ago focused on content management systems, which is like a WordPress powering websites. Powered websites for about 9,000 churches in total. In this world, Jeff, as you know, you pick a market to focus on, right? So our market at the time was churches and universities. So powered a ton of sites and saw a great deal of money raised through really effective marketing, particularly around landing pages, online experiences, that kind of thing. But anyway, long story longer, sold that business in 2015, did some investing, took some time off, and brought the team back together to solve the next challenge. And that was driving engagement, which turns out text messaging is a great way to do that.
Oh my God, it's a game changer.
It is.
I had to do a presentation at an AFP conference a couple years ago, and we were talking about just kind of technology trends and just the response rates from SMS versus email. I'm sure you can quote those stats better than I can, but I'm the guy presenting it, and I was like, my eyes were open to it.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's amazing. I'll be honest, at first I went kicking and screaming. We were 18 months as a company before we doubled down on text messaging. To us, it was one of the multiple channels that we were using. But as we looked across, geofencing, push notifications, anything that required an app permission set or a login or an app to download, it just became problematic for us. So we decided, you know what, let's abandon all app development and just focus on the one app everybody has installed by default and figure out how to master human-centered texting.
Yes. No, that's awesome. And so tell us about what types of services that nonprofits use you for as it relates to text messaging.
Yeah, so obviously text messaging, SMS is what most people think of, just simple text messaging. And we do a video text messaging as well, or MMS. We launched an HD video service where we can lay over a button while a video is playing, and that can be delivered through an MMS experience. And then a newer protocol, not a lot of folks in your audience may be even aware of this, but if they have the newer iPhone or they've had Android for a while, they might see something called RCS, where it's richer engagement. The text messages popping on a screen, or a little bit more animation, read and send receipt, notifications, better analytics, that kind of thing. So
in this,
RCS
Apple just took this on, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's been carrier wide for a while, and Android's had it for over a year, 2 years now, and Apple finally caught up to the game. They were not as excited about it because they have their own iMessage network, but yeah, they're playing along now with the other carriers.
Well, it's funny. I mean, we joke about it in my family, right? Because it's like, don't add the one token Android user to the text thread, because then everything turns green, and it just really really sucks, right? But
it does suck, yeah, definitely. So now we have the option to send blue even from a computer. It's across the network. So we've got send blue, we've got ringless voicemail or voicemail drops, which is a lot of fun, being able to drop a voicemail without having to make a phone call. So those types of services as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, because like I said, I mentioned this, and I don't exactly remember the stats, but people would tell you that an email response rate, a bulk email response rate of a few percentage points is great, and I want to say SMS read rates were like in the 80s or 90% range. It was crazy.
Yeah, reads are 90% for sure. But what we look at is click rates, so how many actually click. And if we don't see 15% click through on a campaign, we'll pay for the campaign until you try it again. So
wow,
we guarantee 15%.
I hope our listeners are hearing that. 15%. I mean, I'm telling you, that's 7 times at least what you're going to get out of an email campaign.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll put our money where our mouth is, and we'll pay for it if it doesn't work.
So on your site, you show the 5-digit code. For those that don't know, that's a short code. Okay.
Yep.
So recently there's been a lot of, talk and obviously a lot of regulation around these application to people text messaging here. So how does your short code work for your clients? And, are most of your clients sending these mass texts out through 10-digit numbers or what?
Yeah, definitely. So we do support shortcode. We have a number of customers that run on shortcode, and it's a very unique case with shortcode. You have to be sending tens of millions of messages, I think, to make it make sense for you. But with 10DLC or what's called local telephone numbers like 858 for San Diego, maybe 214 for Dallas Fort Worth, but a local area code has to also be registered. So that's 10DLC. And then our most of our customers actually also add a toll-free number. For toll-free verification. So we support all three types, 10DLC, toll-free, and of course shortcode.
So when would it make sense for your customer to use your shortcode versus just having their own 10-digit number?
Mostly it comes down to throughput per second. How many
Got it.
messages you want to send per second or per minute, right? So the throughput, as you can imagine, on a verified, registered 10 or shortcode rather, is really the sky's the limit. As fast as you want to send messages, we can send messages. So if you're sending 2 million messages at a time and you want to make sure those get delivered before dinner, then yeah, you might want to consider the
shortcode.
Shortcode. Now, with 10DLC or even toll-free, we do have the high-capacity registration options now with our platform, so we can get pretty close to that same throughput, but it really comes down to how many messages per second. And of course, any filtering that might happen through carriers saying, hey, this is too many messages from one particular sender.
Got it. And that's just so our listeners understand, you are helping an organization register a 10-digit number, explaining to the carriers exactly what it's going to be used for so that you're increasing their deliverability percentage and their throughput, right? It sounds like that also helps.
Yeah, and because we can't guarantee 15% click rate if half your messages are blocked by spam and or just never sent, right? Which the carriers will just flat out not send it, right? Which is the most common complaint we get from customers that signed with us that were with a solution that may have been baked into their CRM, is most providers don't go through that trouble. It costs quite a bit of money and time and energy to do that, and we have a full-on compliance person. So unless the vendor has a full-time compliance person working on these things, your messages are probably not getting delivered.
No, I'll be honest with you because we have some overlapping services, but what you're describing is exactly right. And so for us, we force all of our clients who are doing what we call invitations, so non-Handbid event application related interactions. Yeah. So the stuff that you guys do, it's marketing, right? It's like, hey, come to my event. Those types of things have to go through a 10-digit number. And I get it. Trust me. I mean, the compliance and then the forms you got to fill out on behalf of customers and everything else, I will tell you because obviously a lot of our listeners are charities. It's not fun. Okay.
Yeah, it changes all the time. They made a huge change to the network right before Giving Tuesday, like within a week of Giving Tuesday.
Oh, how convenient.
Yeah. So you think about it. We deliver, tens of millions of messages, and we had to scramble, but it's fine. That's what we do.
Well, that's the point I'm making, right? Is that I would definitely put that in your hands. It's a great service and we do it around the globe, which makes it even more fun.
Yeah, no doubt. Good.
Yes, if you've ever had to register your phone numbers or your what they call sender IDs and stuff in various countries, it can be.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
It is a nightmare.
Yeah, most of our clients are in U.S. and Canada. We have a few in Australia and a handful in the European, some of the European countries, but and I think one in China somewhere. But yeah, we stay pretty local.
So very good. So what? Explain kind of like I'm a charity and I want to use a service like yours. And you mentioned, obviously a lot of charities have CRMs. How does that work? Am I exporting data out of my CRM and loading it into yours? Are you helping them generate their own lists? Are you prospecting for them? Like explain kind of where these lists of phone numbers come from.
Yeah, great question. So we have a couple of different ways. We call it import or integration, and we have a number of integrations that are native. Of course, you can use Zapier and those kinds of tools if you're familiar with that. So pushing data into our system from a couple of different sources, but most of them are through an integration with the system. We have a full API, and we'll build an integration for our customers. So when your clients comes along and says, "Hey, we want to push event data to Rally," we've got a guy for that. It's just a matter of adding it to the backlog and getting it done. But, short of that, we have a simple CSV import where they can just download a little template of what it looks like. At the end of the day, it's just a phone number and a first name if you want to personalize the message.
That's awesome.
Not that difficult of an import.
That is very cool. And look, like I said earlier, I mean, we should definitely talk because I think it'd be great to integrate, obviously between Handbid and RallyCorp, the idea of taking people, because we're able to generate some really interesting lists of people based on their past behaviors in auctions. So you'd be like, hey, everybody who bid over a certain amount or donated or did whatever in these last auctions, give me that list. Hey, let's click a button and send that right into Rally. What do you think?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's something that we could do quite easily through either our API or even yours, but mirroring the systems together, I think is a great way to do that because you really want that visibility into what events are working. And then, of course, if you're going to be, sending text messages, you want to make sure they're relevant and land, right? So the more we can pull from your data, the better.
Yeah, and look, and I'm also a big fan of, I get that it's sometimes nice to have one system that kind of has everything in it, but to your point, there's a lot of these CRMs out there that do kind of do this, but not to the level that you do, or are not going to put the care into making sure that you remain compliant, like you guys are going to do. So yeah, I'm a big fan of, use the best tool for the job.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And one of the things, when it was funny, one of our first integrations we actually funded and did on our own was with a competitor system because they were way better at Shortcode, but did terrible on 10DLC. So we thought, you know what? It's just a question of some campaigns are better with 10DLC and some campaigns better Shortcode. And why move all your Shortcode traffic? We'll just build out an integration. We were happy to do it. So I think it really comes down to the right tool for the right job. And it's just data's data, and it's making sure that everything's synced up like it's supposed to be.
Right. So you guys are sending out a text message that could include a URL.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Any challenges with that? Do you see those URLs getting filtered out or unhyperlinked or whatever? Or?
Yeah, definitely. If you're using like a Bitly or a common short link service like that, then absolutely they're being filtered for sure. Now, we have our own link shortening service, and a customer can register their own domain and set that up. But we have over, 10 or 15, links that are quite fun. So in your case, one of our short links is fundraise.event, right?
Right.
So fundraise.event/whatever would be a great link to use for a fundraising event. And then we have link click tracking back on that short link and QR code generator and all that.
Very, very cool. And then, So you're tracking back all the clicks and whatnot to see who's tapping on them because that's coming through you, right?
It is. Yeah. Now we can again, with our API, we can pass in a link potentially with your system. So, a link is just one more variable.
Yep.
But if you use our link, then of course we generate a different link for every mobile number. So we know that it was clicked by this mobile number and not clicked by this mobile number. So we have device level analytics at our server side. So quite a bit
That's
better
smart.
than maybe some of the issues that we have with some of the browser cookies and different, privacy rules and stuff like that.
So people are like they're pushing these out, okay, mostly as some sort of event promotion or marketing promotion or fundraising campaign, or is there any interactivity? Are they able to text back to this number?
Yeah, so all of our texting is two-way. We consider that human-centered. So every text message that leaves our system can be responded to and lands in an inbox. We have a team that can monitor that. For some of our customers have that managed, but most of our customers monitor their own inbox. And that can be at the campaign level or global across all campaigns, all users.
Got it.
But yeah, two-way texting is essential, I believe.
Yeah, I think so too. Just to make sure that, you're getting all of the information, because maybe someone is telling you like, hey, this link didn't work for me, or
exactly.
they're giving you some sort of important information like, why is no one clicking on my link? Which you probably should have tested it first. But
yeah, and most people know that they're supposed to reply stop for stop or unsubscribe, right? You of course didn't say that in the message, but depending on the nature of the campaign, you don't have to. Like for example, if you're setting what's called a peer-to-peer campaign, one message at a time, even if you're doing it in preloading thousands of folks for one-to-one messaging, you can exclude that disclaimer. But in our system, since we use AI, we can bring it up to the attention in the inbox that, hey, this person replied with an emoji of a middle finger. That's essentially a stop, right? So let's tag that as negative, and let's alert an admin that you're getting some negative replies. And that's just one of the analytics that we look at in a campaign.
I saw that recently in a cold email tool I saw a video demo of, And very similar, right? Like, not everybody writes back and says not interested. Or you send out a cold email and you say something like, hey, if you don't want to receive these anymore, just let me know. People send back some really interesting replies, but
They do.
so what ends up happening is to your point, AI reads those and was like, that's a negative response. That's a positive response. That's a negative response.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And actually, true story. During the Giving Tuesday campaigns, we had a customer send, I don't know, like 50,000 messages. It wasn't a huge campaign, but about 10% through the campaign, they were getting replies that the link wasn't working or that it was timing out, and the administrator had put in the wrong link. So we were able to pause the campaign, fix the link, and then resend. So only 10% of the list got the wrong link, and of course we could go back and update them with a second text. But could you imagine getting through 50,000 text messages before you realize the link was wrong?
Oh, Lord have mercy. Yeah.
That'd be a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like I say, I mean, test those links, guys.
Test those links. Yeah. Put that green checkbox.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's talk about something. This comes up a lot with us, and clients ask us all the time, text to give, right? And it's always been an interesting story because I've been around long enough to know what the original text to give was, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But for you guys, do you have your own donation pages, or are these people putting in links back to their CRM, or what?
Yeah, no, we don't have our own donation pages. We're just a communications company focused on delivery of the message.
Got it.
If you were to text give to our short code, we have a universal short code that our customers have access to called 24-365. So we're like 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, text give to 24365. Give would be your keyword. Yours might be something else, right?
Right.
But if you text that to this, then the system will return a customizable message with a link. Again, we're tracking that link click down to the mobile number so we know who texted in and maybe didn't click the link or didn't complete the donation. But that donation form could very well be a donation form that exists on their website already, or a registration for an event.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Your tool.
Yeah, we do something very similar to that. But that's kind of the current modern text to give, right? Is I'm texting in and you're sending me back a URL, which is a web page. And from there, I'm filling it out, whatever form is presented to me on that web page to make my donation. Okay.
Yeah, with smartphones and digital wallets, the online checkout process has been streamlined, of course, with Apple Pay and all the different tools that are handy. So you can quite literally order a Tesla from your phone, right? So making a donation is not rocket science. People are already buying products that way. They're already transacting, purchasing things from their phone, and they're quite accustomed to that. So we just simply redirect people to a mobile-friendly page and allow them to check out in that way. But you're right. The old text to give would take it off your phone bill under a mobile giving foundation, but that's an expensive proposition, and obviously they take a huge cut. And then you don't own that donor data, so it's difficult to get back to those people.
You don't, yeah, and that's that was an education for me because the Mobile Giving Foundation is here in Colorado. Yeah, and so we knew them for a long time, and it became even harder and harder for them. But just so that our listeners understand, those campaigns are 15, 20, 30,000 or more to run those campaigns. And so yes, that is the text this keyword to this number, and $10 is coming off your bill and going to the Red Cross, right? And they're really, really effective at a certain level, but you're going to have to spend that kind of money. And the other challenge is a lot of these cell phones don't have premium billing turned on anymore, so they're a little bit harder. So we ran into that challenge. And then the last one is I think it takes 3 to 6 months or more to get your money.
It does, yeah. And we had a campaign run 2 weeks ago that raised $2.4 million under the text to give or the text to donate strategy. So people are quite accustomed to clicking on the link and filling out a form. It's not rocket science, especially if the form integrates with We Pay, and you can do an automatic trigger text message for what we call shopping cart abandonment. But if a person does not complete their donation, why not text them the next day and ask them to, right? You don't get that opportunity with text to give.
I love that idea. Oh man, we could sit here and brainstorm like really good ideas. I mean, I tell you what, like to your point, like it's like somebody gets 3/4 or whatever. They probably just got a phone call or something, right? In the middle of their donation, and they just lost their space in the. Yeah, I like that.
If you're like me, you're texting while you're driving, and you're like, I probably should get home. So,
well, there's a new law in Colorado now. I'm apparently not allowed to touch my phone, but whatever.
Well, that's been in California for a while, but what are you gonna do?
No, look, I mean, these things this is how we stay connected to the world. And, a trend that I brought up when I gave this same presentation about kind of where things are going, and we talked about SMS response rates, was what I have this vision and thought of what I call these micro campaigns, which I think is exactly what your product does. So I'm on a mission trip. I'm in Rwanda, and we're going around to all these villages, and we're delivering these water filters. And we're doing real-time videos of the crew going in and delivering these things, installing them, showing the families how to use them. I mean, this is real-time impact stuff.
Yeah, thank God. That's awesome.
Right? And then we're sitting there and we're saying to ourselves, like, we need to put this in front of donors now. Like, this is what they need to see. Like, this is where your money is going. It was it was not sophisticated. There's no donation link on the text that was going out. This is literally just Instagram videos. But to me, I walked away going, that's what we need to be doing, right? We need to be right out in the field, whether we're serving kids or we're serving the homeless or we're serving whoever, right? Whatever it is we're doing, show the people there on the spot the impact, and boom, text them that donation link. Here's the video. Here's the donation link. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. Close that loop. It's amazing how many organizations don't close the loop.
Right.
So you make a donation, or you're somewhat aware. You may be aware the nonprofit had given, a year or two ago, or even potentially volunteered. But if you're not closing the loop on your impact and the stories around your cause, people forget.
Right.
And they'll move on.
But so let's talk about the evolution of communication and engagement, because, I'm at this conference and I'm giving this trends speech, and I got people that come up to me afterwards and they're like, we still do direct mail. Okay. It works for us. We love it. And I'm saying to myself, I said, well, it works for you compared to what? Well, they think that their constituency is not going to respond to a text message. Their constituency wants to get the piece of paper in the mail, write the check, put it in the envelope, and send it in. And there's still some of those people that are left, for sure. But I kept saying, you need to keep looking at what's coming in front of you. Yeah. And I'm probably as old school as many, right? In certain ways, although I do run a tech company, I'm not the youngest, guy in the room anymore. But I get emails, James, from certain nonprofits where they attach a PDF newsletter. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It's 2024.
Yeah.
Right? I'd actually rather get a text message from you.
Yeah.
I get a video from one guy who, we support financially in his ministry, and I get a video from him every couple of weeks. That's, 30 seconds to a minute long. And it is way more impactful in a text than a newsletter. I don't know. What do you think?
I totally agree. And look, it's multi-channel, multi-touch. At the end of the day, it's all about, what works for you and what do you know. You don't know until you try. So try in multiple channels like text messaging, US mail. But certainly, I think that what breaks my heart about the PDF attachment story you just told, at the end of the day, there's just no analytics on that. Like, how many people open that attachment and how effective was that? And then what am I supposed to do with that, right? And there's a lot of groups that either nonprofits or ministries that I support, and I continue to because I care about them, but they're losing a whole bunch of opportunity because they have no real visibility into what's actually working. And I still believe in US mail for sure. So send a snail mail, but use a QR code, because when I check my mail, I probably have my phone in my pocket. So make the QA, the CTA, or the call to action easy, so that I can scan a QR code, and then we can of course measure how many scans and how many clicks did we get off of that campaign, and that will inform our messaging for the next one, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. I mean, I ran a company in the past before Handbid called O2O. It was online to offline. Mm-hmm. And it was exactly that. How do you close that loop? And QR codes were it. And the funny thing is, back in 2012, when I'm running this company, QR codes were not popular. COVID made them all popular. Like now my 82-year-old father knows how to scan a QR code to read the menu at the restaurant, right? So
isn't that funny?
It's great. I mean, you could sit back and say it's about time, but I was the one that said, thank God, like we finally got there, that we can close this loop, because now you can send that direct mail piece, to your point, or I can put that newsletter into the email as a PDF attachment, but the call to action is a QR code. They scan that, and now we know that there is a response.
Absolutely. And I think what is universally true and has been forever, in my opinion, is story. It comes down to good story, and whatever medium tells that story the best is what you should be doing for your audience. Video is a great way to do that. 1-2 minute videos on the regular. People are accustomed to that. Most of the content they're consuming on their phone is in fact video. So if they're on their phone, they're watching a video, and they're doing it on social media, and they're swiping and scrolling, and that's what they do all day long. I read a statistic some time back that, we scroll 300 feet a day on our phones with our little thumbs. That's
Oh
why
my
I go to
God.
bed with my thumbs tired. So you just scroll and scroll. Our job is to interrupt the scroll and get them to take action. If that action moves them from that scroll into some other, manual process, or it's too complicated, you're gonna lose a significant number of people because people are lazy. They're just not gonna do it.
Yeah. No, you don't realize how much you use this. I chop the end of my finger off, like chopping vegetables in the kitchen, and like I can like barely use my phone. I mean,
I know.
so it's it's you're onto something there.
Yep, for sure.
But as we think about it, like when charities come to you and they're like, "Hey, we're interested in this service," what kind of conversation are you having with them? Are they coming from something? Are they coming from direct mail and email, or are they coming from like a non-functional CRM texting platform, or maybe they're just coming to you saying, "We don't really understand this. Can you help us?"
Yeah. In the early days, it was a lot of that. In the early days, when we first got started, we would just take any inquiry off the website. You know how it is. If you had a pulse, I'll try to sell you something, right? So in the early days, if you were, interested in text messaging, we didn't do a lot of qualifying questions, and we would just try to help you with text messaging. Now we do a lot better job of identifying, okay, what other channels are you communicating? If you're not doing email, or if you're doing email and it's not working, then we can certainly help. We can, discuss, but I don't think we should just go from nothing to text messaging unless there's good reason for it. Every now and then we'll get an organization that comes along, and they're engaging with high schools and doing, their audience is just not going to respond to anything other than text messaging, and they know it, right? So those exceptions aside, most organizations need to just do the fundamentals well, tell a story, communicate consistently. And as long as they're doing that, then we can slip text messaging beside that and have one more channel, one more path. And we're not looking to, create something out of nothing here, right? But most of our customers nowadays are organizations that have text through their CRM or their event management tool, and they're just not seeing the results, and they think there's something wrong, and so we'll do an analysis, and most of the time it's because they really haven't deployed text messaging properly. And so working with an organization that focuses on that full time all the time is a great way to do that.
Got it.
Obviously.
So where do you think it goes from here? Like what's next for RallyCorp? Or I mean, what replaces text messaging from your point of view in the future?
Yeah, I think text messaging is here to stay, but it's going to take on some different life, signs like the RCS, right? More animation, more filtering, maybe having messages from my contacts or registered phone numbers hit my inbox, and everything else go to a promotion folder. So some of the things that we saw in the progression of email is in fact going to happen with text messaging, no doubt, right? So you can add all the regulation you want. It's a carrier networks or highly regulated networks. It's primary communications, case of national defense, national security. Like we have to take care of our telecommunications network, obviously. But as we see more and more apps pop up like WhatsApp, Facebook messaging, as we see other over the network messaging apps, as we see, pop up, there'll be, I think, more integration with those tools, and the ability to work with a partner like Rally will help you navigate that landscape. But a lot more animation, a lot more visibility, and a lot more data. We can push a button now in our system and pull in home addresses from cell phones, and net worth and donor screening and all kinds of things from a cell phone.
Yeah, very creepy but cool.
Very creepy but cool. But that data has been there for all along, and it's now available to us because we've all of us are registering our phone numbers at the gas pump and everything else that we're doing, and all that data is available.
I know, which hopefully benefits us more than anything else. But
yeah,
but I think it's
we
great.
want to redeem it for causes. I mean, I can guarantee you the consumer brands are using it. We think, hey, nonprofits should be using it to identify who are your ideal donors and who should be coming to that event.
Yeah, trust me, I get it. And it's like, hey, here's my list of people that are in my guest list, and some of these people were invited by people that are donors of mine. But I don't know every name in there. But running it through some AI tools and being able to augment that data with some, propensity to buy, wealth type of information can be helpful for sure.
Yeah, and let your donors decide. Let your donors be in charge of their data. Let them also decide how they want to communicate with you. That could be email, US mail, text messaging, voicemail drops. Like, it's just one, 3, 4, 5 channels, and let them check a box to see how they want to hear from you, and then just be consistent.
That makes sense. Yeah, we've been asked to integrate with WhatsApp, but mostly for any of our clients that are overseas. It seems to be a much more popular platform.
Big one, for sure.
Outside of the U.S. But so WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, you see those as always just going to kind of be there, but text messaging will never go away. It's just going to turn into more of what people use for email, right? So you'll have your spam folder and all that other kind of stuff on your phone.
Yeah, what I think for text messaging is universally true is I know a lot of folks that are not on Facebook, they're not active on Facebook, maybe they have WhatsApp, they don't. So it really, anything that requires you to download and create an account, a profile, install an app, those are going to be barriers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's universally true is every phone comes with a few apps already installed and already configured, and that's, of course, phone calls and text messages. That's native on every phone out of the box. So text messaging in that context and in that setting is here to stay. That's not going to change. But within those services like SMS will come obviously MMS, which is multimedia, and now RCS, right? So there'll be some new opportunities in there to see some richer customer experiences. But at the end of the day, me sending you a message and knowing that you will receive it because you don't have to install an app, that's here to stay.
Awesome. Yeah, and like I said, we've seen amazing response rates out of SMS, especially when you're trying to promote people to come to your event. Even my own, right? I mean, it's funny. We'll start to promote our event as a Kentucky Derby fundraiser, and it's the first Saturday of every May, and so we'll start promoting it in February. And most of your regular people already know it's coming. It's on their calendar, but you start to promote it with email. But man, I tell you what, as soon as we send out that blast text invitation, tickets are up for 2025 Derby. Click here to get signed up. Looking forward to seeing you kind of that message, and they're personalized with their own personal link.
Yep.
All of a sudden, registrations just start picking up massively. So
the day before, day of, post event, during the event, the more you can move people. I mean, everybody who shows up at that event likely has their phone on them, and it's just a few.
I hope so if they're using Handbid. So
yeah, yeah, guaranteed.
Yeah, but no, you're right. I mean, and we've talked about this. I mean, and what a great way to interact, because, it's one thing to say, okay, they bought a ticket, right? And then now they're on the guest list, but that event check-in process, that arrival experience is heavily impacted by what you're doing 2 days in advance, 1 day in advance, even the morning of. Hey, it's an amazing Saturday. Weather's beautiful. Looking forward to seeing you tonight at our gala. Just to want to remind you, this is where you can park, check-ins at this time. You can register early. You can skip all that kind of stuff. Anything that gets them kind of going and prepped in advance is helpful.
Yeah, and bring your umbrella.
Bring your umbrella. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
100%.
Yes.
Yeah, the more it really comes down to it's always a relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And relationship starts with a human-centered approach to messaging. Let the donor, or let the event attendee decide how they want to hear from you. Let them register with compliance in mind, and then make it easy on them. Put their information in their pocket, right? And don't make them go digging for it.
I love it.
So, yeah,
I love it. Well, this has been amazing. I want everybody to know how to get a hold of you guys. Obviously, tell us about your website, and then kind of what your products and services are, and then we'll pass on your information as well, on our podcast page. But we'd love for people to find Rally. So where did they go to get RallyCorp information?
So RallyCorp.com. It's spelled RallyCorp.com. Text James at 24365 if you want my personal contact card. That includes my cell phone. I always tell people if I have your number, you should have mine. So James, the 24365 will get you my contact card. But yeah, James at RallyCorp.com, and happy to answer any questions. Anybody that mentions, of course, Handbid, we'll happy to set them up with a couple of free months or a couple $100 on their account, whatever they need.
That's awesome.
Love to work with them.
Amazing. James, any parting thoughts before we wrap this podcast up?
No, it's been an interesting year. We're obviously started the new year in 2025, so lots of exciting things ahead for everybody. So just want to encourage them to keep doing what they're doing, and remember, it's really comes down to multiple touches and multiple things. There's not one magic bullet, and text messaging's no different. So keep
I love
up.
it. Yeah, I mean, for sure. We saw a lot of, 2024, there was definitely a lot of people who said they just survived it. So let's make 2025 a year of growth and prosperity. Yeah. Why not?
Why not? We're going to name it and claim it.
All righty.
All right, buddy.
So thanks, everybody, for joining us. This will be, we'll wrap this version of the Elevate Your Event podcast up. And until next time, happy fundraising.
If you enjoyed our show, please take a moment to leave us a review. You can find us on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Don't forget to subscribe for more great content. And if you're a fan of video, check us out on YouTube. Until next time, happy fundraising.